Hi, and welcome to another alternative recap video. I'm joined here by Grandmaster Renier and Yahli Sokolovsky. We what? It seems like I'm doing the video on my own today. Okay, so we analyzed for some hours, and we did it in a way that I'm quite tired right here. I've been working very hard on non-candidates related stuff, and I gave them positions to think about after I had checked them with the engines, which was, I think, quite interesting because we get the human perspective and we know what the critical moments are. So the two games today are going to both be from the open section. It's Nakamura against Zarov, and it's going to be Kawana against Bluebaum. Not very good at names. So Nakamura, he blamed his team for this loss because, as we all know, it is the team that makes the moves. So here, Queen D2 used to be the main line, but he had prepared for this. And this seems to be what everyone plays. And here the engine gives first choice E5, but Zendarov played castle, which he said he had been prepared for 10 minutes before the game. And here Nakamura thought for a little more than an hour. And after, this is our sort of moment of the day, after H4, then check, knight B4 takes and castle, rook E8, and there's simply not compensation for all the pawns. Queen D2 C5, and black won the game. I'm sure you have seen other recaps. All the recaps are available to you if you want to do that. But let's go back to the interesting position here, where Nakamura had to play the best moves. The B4 idea is correct. He should have played knight E4, and there's some very important distinctions. So we were analyzing this here, or I was giving the three GMs here at the camp a chance to consider what to play in this situation, which comes almost by force from this opening here. And they thought for a long time, and they simply couldn't get the position to work. For example, King F8 was suggested, and here knight F6 is already lights out. H6 is sort of similar, also lights out. Bishop D7, also check, and here the forced variation looks like this. And now with the threat of Queen H6, white wins the queen, and most likely also the game. So in this position here, you can try a piece sacrifice with F5. And here the most accurate move is rook D1, the piece is going nowhere. If rook C7 and knight E8. And this kind of position here is going to be a tough struggle for black, but it's not necessarily lost. But we're absolutely sure that the Sendaro's preparation was the move rook D7. Here after Queen G5, H6, white is not going to be, white's going to win back the exchange, but black has two pawns and chances are roughly equal. So knight F6 is the most challenging move. And then after GF, Queen H6, here again I asked them to think for a long time. And they really, really struggled. In the end, they found the only moves. This was after quite a lot of time. Of course, Sendarov would know this. After take, and black has to play knight D5. For example, if knight D3 and E5, we have here, just to give a little taste of how tricky it is. But okay, Sendarov would have known his preparation. Here after CD5, for example, Queen C3, C4 F5, also take bishop F5, Queen F6, bishop G6. Both make the draw, so white's most challenging move would perhaps be bishop E4. And here the preparation no doubt continued like this. Now there's no bishop F5. That's the reason for this intermediate move. And in a position like this, Black should make the draw. You could imagine that white manages to play the pawn to h5, and black will take it, and the bishop is on e6, and the rook is on d7. It's very hard to see how white's going to make progress. To me, it looks like a fortress. And this was Sindarov's preparation. I'm sure the white could try a thing or two along the way. But it seems that this here is a very forced line, and therefore the dangers for black are maybe not as great as you could think. So the big contrast to this is the game Caruana Bluebaum, which was totally anti-opening theory preparation. So against the Petrov, Caruana played like this. Now, normally the knight is on f3 in this variation, but with c4, this is sort of a new attempt here. And black could play solid with bishop e7 or something along those lines, maybe knight c6 with the idea g6. But Bluebaum considered playing d5. And after knight e3 here, and here I had Yahli thinking for a long time. And it was actually quite a tricky position to play. So Bluebaum played c6, which we don't like. We think if you could play e6, then you have the chance for also playing c5 and knight c6, and this is a nicer setup. So after bishop e6, if white plays, let's say bishop d3 or bishop d2 or something like that, we are not too scared. After f4, probably, sadly, the best move is f5, which is a little bit sad, but bishop c5 is very interesting. White here should play something like bishop d3, but I tested Yahli a little bit with f5, and here we are, of course, quite far from the game. This position is not so easy. So the computer suggestion here is that black plays bishop d7, f5 is simply weak in the white position, and queen d5, queen e7 is dangerous. White is underdeveloped, and king is in the center. Yahli suggested another line here, which went like this. And in this position, and this is sort of part of how we're using the candidate games here in training camp, I asked him, still back in the, Yahli was still in this position. And if you want to think from this position to that position and try to find out how white to play and win, then now is the right time to stop the video. And I'm going to move to that position, and you can also stop the video here and try to find a white to play and win. And the winning move here is bishop g2. Now, the first move to check is takes, and then comes check, followed by bishop takes e3. And it's very hard for black to find safety for the king. Either it's in the way of the black rook by going to g8, or it have to be in the center and cannot castle. It can't go to e8 and since go to c8 in one jump. This is worth of remembering. Yahli was thinking there was a line here, but in this position, the rook will be hanging on a8. So this is sort of kind of the way we were thinking about it. Okay, let's go further along in the game. Here, if black plays bishop c5 and castle, it's probably okay. But this g6 here, this setup brought him some grief. And here we thought for, or we, meaning Yahli, thought for quite a while here. And this is also a very difficult position to get going for black. And this was sort of what Caruana wanted out of this game. Sort of the same way as his game with Sindarov yesterday, which very badly backfired. He wanted a position where both players are playing for themselves, don't know what's happening, and then struggling to make decisions, and the better player will make better decisions. Yesterday being 2 days ago, the previous round, Caruana was totally unable to solve his problems. And with 3 hours, the 3 guys here couldn't solve them either. So we're not blaming anyone. Here, Yahli thought for a while and decided that he definitely wanted to take on d2. And then here he wanted to play bishop d7, but he was very unsure. And then after h4, white has quite a serious attack here. You can imagine the g5 followed by a h5, and the black king will be under a lot of pressure. The computer here comes in and says the black's a position is playable only with only moves. So here going into the pin and then out of the pin. And then if you take on c3, there's rook e2, and suddenly it's a catastrophe. So therefore here, and then you have to find this. Well, after gf5, queen f6, you're okay, and after take, and here, black's okay. This is very, very hard to find. When the engine is talking, we can all understand why these moves are the best ones, but they're all reliant on a long sequence of moves. So instead, black played rook e8, and after take e4, which was a great move by Caruana, rook e4 and h4, the attack was incredibly strong. I am just going to play through the end of the game here. Here, rook df1 was maybe stronger, but here black still under a lot of pressure. The computer suggested that if black plays like this, he's a pawn down, but his position is not so bad. It's very hard to play all of these moves. Many of them look very strange. In the game here there was a shortcut to win take, and rook d5 is coming, and it's time to resign. And this was good enough. Caruana probably saw both and didn't see a reason to let go of a piece, and in the end he got to deliver checkmate on the board. So this was the alternative recap. We are back with our prediction video in the morning, and thank you to my lovely co-host Yahli Sokolovsky and Renier Castellanos, who are, well, Renier is lying down in the sofa, and Yahli, what are you doing, Yahli?
Solving.
Solving exercises. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.